Ruben here at Cooley Labs, and today we will be covering UTXO, which may be something you never heard of. UTXO is an acronym which stands for Unspent Transaction Output. Up front, know that this is the model that powers Bitcoin and similar blockchains, and it stands in contrast to the accounts model utilized by Algorand, Ethereum, and Solana. So what is UTXO? Well, maybe it would be simpler to explain if we first cover what the accounts model is. Remember that all blockchains are essentially just ledgers. If we look at the Algorand and Solana blockchains, you can see that they possess an entry in their ledgers that store state for an account. Now you might ask, what is state? Well, you can think of it as programming jargon, which simply means some combination of values are to be maintained and remembered. With this in hand, we can see in the Algorand docs that it has an account entry on the blockchain ledger which stores the identifier to the account, the balance about it, and some other metadata. And that is right over here. Account 1, address, which is just a public address, the balance, and some other metadata such as if it's online or not. Solana does this also, but they go a step further and they maintain the account in active memory on the nodes, which simply means in addition to being an entry in the ledger, which has state, the computers are always immediately aware of it and don't have to ever go look it up. So we can see now that the accounts model seems straightforward, like what you would have at your bank, an account number, a running balance, and some other information, like your bank has your name and address. Now UTXO though is completely different. On UTXO there is no notion of account. The blockchain only stores individual transactions, and each transaction has multiple public addresses and all the value inputs and outputs are tracked for each. And this is on a per transaction basis only. What this means is that in UTXO, you do not have a running balance for any account. Your wallet or the blockchain has to go back and examine every single transaction that all of your public addresses have ever been involved with in order to calculate the current balance for any current transaction. And this is part of the reason why BTC is so process and energy intensive, because every time a block is created, the entire blockchain has to be re-verified and rechecked. Now let's look at some examples. In all of these examples, we have public address inputs and public address outputs. The public address inputs are inputting or sending money to the public address outputs. In the first one, we have this account sending 100 BTC over to this public address. So this is a very simple one where we have one input and we have one output. So now this account has 100 BTC which has not been used. So this would be marked with an identifier saying that is unspent. In example 2, we're going to have the same addresses. However, this time this address is going to send only 75 BTC to this address. Well, with blockchain, you can't send a partial amount because remember there is no balance running for any kind of things. It has to send the entire amount that it has. So public address 1, again, sends 100 BTC into this transaction. It goes to public address 2. However, it gets changed back. And both of these now are considered unspent in these public addresses. So public address 2, which was sent to, has 75 BTC unspent. And public address 1, which just sent 100, essentially has change of 25 BTC, which is unspent. And with example 3, because there is no running balance, in your wallet you have multiple public addresses. And so if I wanted to send public address, what I've been calling public address 2, if I want to send it money, maybe I want to send it 50 BTC, but none of my public address inputs have enough on their own. Well, my wallet's going to go through and it's going to send multiple inputs to this output. So it'll combine public address input 1, public address input 2, and it'll go ahead and add that up to get this public address output. And once again, this public address over here is unspent. So if we look at this on the blockchain, I have a transaction right here. And you can see for this transaction, it has an input. The input is from this public address. Of course, it has to have a signature which corresponds to the private key. And over here, it has the output. And you can see this output is marked unspent. And it has an additional output, which is its own address. This address here is this address. So in this transaction, this this address sent money to this address and it got some change. And you can see that that change is also marked unspent. Well, I hope that made sense, and if it didn't, please leave some questions down below and maybe I can make an additional video. Otherwise, be sure to like and subscribe if you liked today's video. If you didn't like today's video, please let me know why. And all of you out there, have a great day.